How you convince yourself that what you did was right? It's for the rats, the one that stabbed their main dudes in the backs. I wonder how you even live life after that, rats. How you sleeping?
Hello everyone, hope everyone's having a great day and a great holiday. Now, I know Emmy, his story's getting a little repetitive, I understand that, but I'll never stop exposing the lying informant. Today's December 27th, and look at this, streamed 3 hours ago, alright? December.
Hey guys, well, today I got another Beth Avenue story for you. You're gonna like this one about Anthony Sparrow and Tommy Pitera when they sat down for us after the second attempt on Mikey Hamster.
Oh, okay. So Emmy's new story about the sit down is not only was it Tommy Pitera, aka Tommy Karate, but now he's throwing in Sparrow's name, and he said sat down for us. So not only did they sit down for Emmy, Emmy's going to say that they also sat down for Tommy Reynolds through Paulie G. So I guess this is another Paulie G story, just embellished as the lying informants usually do. So let's hear this now. And we have the letter to prove that Emmy is a liar, which will be at the end of the video, so stay tuned.
Now also at this time, the Beth Avenue crew, we were getting into our own troubles. We were having trouble with the kid, Mikey Hamster. The first attempt on Mikey Hamster was me and Joey Calco. So me and Joey Calco, I end up going to Manhattan. Joey Calco goes to Italy. And Paulie Galino's in the street. Paulie Galino reaches out to Tommy Karate. Tommy Karate sits down for me, and I come back to the neighborhood.
Okay, we know that's a definite lie because Tommy Pitera, Tommy Karate, said he never knew Jimmy. And let's not forget, when Jimmy says Tommy sat down for him, Tommy was already in jail, okay? Tommy was in jail the first time Hamster got shot. So how could he be there for the second time? So that just don't add up. Tommy Pitera's own words, he was in jail at the time of these events.
So Tommy Reynolds ends up coming in the neighborhood, and he's at a payphone on Cropsey Avenue and Bay 20th Street. And Michael Hamster is going into the Cropsey Lounge with Georgie the Chico, and he sees Tommy Reynolds on the payphone. Michael Hamster looks at Tommy and says, "What are you looking at?" He goes in his face. And Tommy goes, "No problem, I got no problem." So Michael Hamster walks back. As he walks back, Tommy Reynolds pulls out a .357, and he starts firing shots at the kid Mikey Hamster. Pop, 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 pop. And he hits the kid Mikey Hamster in the kneecap and in the body somewhere. That was the second attempt on Mikey Hamster. Mikey Hamster goes down. Tommy Reynolds takes off. He heads back to Jersey. So Tommy Reynolds is now an outcast.
Okay, timeout right there. Now, isn't that story enough? I wouldn't doubt that story right there. Wasn't that a good enough story to tell? But no, like all the people that come on YouTube and have to glamorize the life and say they don't glamorize the life, that story would have been good enough right there. Jimmy has to add on a lie at the end. And we have proof that it's a lie. Like I said a million times, the letter is the proof. I just don't understand. That was a good enough story. And you're done. You don't have to worry about lying. And you move on. And you tell more stories. More Paulie G stories. Because I'm sure you have plenty of them. But no, you have to take it further. So let's see what Emmy has to say.
Goes to Tommy Karate and tells Tommy what happened. This is my friend. This kid Mikey Hamster went in his face and he threatened him. He said, "I'll kill you and all your friends." And Tommy Pitera is just listening to Paulie Galino. And Tommy says, "I'm going to help him." He goes to Anthony Sparrow and he explains to Anthony, "This is what I want to do. This kid Tommy Reynolds is from the neighborhood." And Sparrow says, "Yeah, help him." I'm saying.
You hear what he just said? He said Tommy Karate said he's going to help him. He said this kid, Tommy Reynolds, is from the neighborhood. Now, we're going to go back to the letter where Tommy Karate says he didn't know any of the Beth Avenue crew except for Paulie G. All right, so how could this story be true? How can he sit down for someone, vouch for someone that he didn't know, okay? It just doesn't make sense. The story was good enough before Jimmy had to add this lie.
Because I know these kids. I know them since they're young.
Tommy Pitera himself said he did not know them except for Paulie G.
So Tommy explains to Sparrow he's going to go talk to Georgie the Chico.
He just added another name. He adds Georgie the Chico into the mix. This didn't happen, people. It did not happen.
Chico with Paulie Galino. Paulie Galino takes the walk with him. Paulie Galino gave me this information at the time. Tommy Reynolds knows it. Fabrizio knows it. Everybody knows it.
Well, Tommy Reynolds is getting out soon, isn't he? And then we're going to see. And we already know the story when Fabrizio introduced himself to Tommy Pitera. It was years later in jail. That's when Tommy Pitera met Fabrizio. It was the whole Bath Avenue crew. Pitera didn't know. I know I keep repeating it, but Emmy thinks that if he just keeps telling the story over and over, the same lie over and over and over, that people are just going to let it go. Well, I won't let it go. My thing is to expose these lying informants.
And he goes and talks to Georgie D. And he explains to George, George, I'm here because, Paulie's friend is Tommy. As you know, these kids are from Bath Avenue all their life. So I just want to sit down and explain to you what's going on. And Georgie's listening. And he explains to him, this kid Tommy came in from Jersey. He had nothing to do with this. Joey Calco and Jimmy were the first ones that did this. And, it was a surprise on Jimmy when it happened. We used that excuse. And in fact,
and notice how Emmy always says, oh, and Tommy said Jimmy didn't do this and Jimmy didn't do that. How could he say Jimmy if he didn't know him? I understand he knew Paulie G, but even if he spoke for him through Paulie G, he would have remembered that he did that. I mean, it's just silly. It's just totally silly.
Joey came back later, but he's telling Georgie the Chico, this kid Tommy Reynolds is minding his business, and this kid Mikey Hamster comes in his face and threatens him. I said, what would you do, Georgie? That's what Tommy tells Georgie. He said, okay. So Paulie G comes back. He tells me exactly what happened. And he said Tommy sat down for Tommy Reynolds. And Reynolds is coming back to the neighborhood. And that's when Sparrow and Tommy Karate put us all around them at that time.
If Tommy Pitera put Emmy around him, he would know who he is. He would know who he was, and he doesn't. They all embellish stories. It's crazy, and it's come so natural to them. Lying comes so natural to the lying informants. It's nuts.
That's when we were on record with the Bonanno crime family. And we were responsible for each other. They were responsible for us.
In order to be responsible for each other, they would have to know each other. And this letter is going to prove that Tommy Pitera did not know who Jimmy was. So now let's get right into the letter, my favorite letter, and expose Emmy's whole story. Like I said earlier, all you had to do was stop it before he added the sit-down in. The second sit-down now. All right, so let's get right into this now.
So I got one of Tommy Karate's self-portraits on Facebook and wrote him a letter, and he sent me a letter back and told me to read it to Robert because I mentioned in my letter to him that I watched Convict Inc. So he told me to contact Robert and read him this letter. So I did, and now we're here. Got it. I got this on 8/8/22. It says, first off, I want to thank you for buying one of my self-portraits. It's greatly appreciated. Yes, I did time with Robert Rosso. He's a great guy. As for this Jimmy Calandra, I don't know this Jimmy Calandra. Yes, he's from the neighborhood, but look at the age difference. I'm like 15 years older than this Jimmy Calandra. If I ran into him on the street, it would be something like, hey, kid, how you doing? Yet he comes up with these beyond ridiculous stories.
Okay, let's stop it right there. Now, if Tommy Pitera sat down for Jimmy, right, he would remember it because he was responsible for Jimmy. All right, when you sit down for somebody, I don't know if you're 100% responsible for him, but you're putting your word up for a guy, you're going to remember it. I don't care if it's 30 years ago, 20 years ago, 10 years ago. But you heard Tommy Pitera right there. I did not know him. I did not know Jimmy. Emmy.
You have to be legally 21 to drink alcohol, yet Jimmy Calandra claims he came prancing into this expensive restaurant, observes myself, John Gotti, and Sammy the Bull sitting at a table, and sends us over an expensive bottle of champagne. Jimmy Calandra don't know me. He didn't know John Gotti, and at the time, he didn't know Sammy the Bull. What is it with these rats claiming they know me and John Gotti when they don't?
It's easy. It's called clout, right? Their stories are, if they're from that neighborhood, their stories should be good enough, just what they know. Especially Emmy. He was kind of with a crew, the Bath Ave crew. But his stories aren't good enough. He has to lie. All right? He has got to, because they all lie. Just ridiculous.
What is it with these rats and me with sit-downs that never happened? Jimmy Calandra claims after shooting Michael Hamster, I sat down for him. I first learned of the shooting of Mike Hamster after I was incarcerated. I'm sure the warden did not let me out in order to come to the aid of Jimmy Calandra.
That's proof of the first sit-down that Emmy mentioned, that he's been lying about for a year now. That's proof of the first sit-down Emmy lied about. All right? Which proves the second sit-down was a lie as well.
Let's get the dates right. At the time of these beyond ridiculous stories, I was already incarcerated. You have to contact Robert Russo after receiving this letter.
Okay, so how did Tommy Pitera sit down for Emmy if Tommy was in jail? Like I said before, they must have had to sit down in the prison visiting room.
I knew Paulie Galino. Paulie was a good kid. These other kids from this Bath Avenue crew, Jimmy Calandra, Joey Calco, Tommy Reynolds, I did not know. Fabrizio in USP Allenwood. Fabrizio introduced himself to me, stating, "You don't remember me, I was 15 years old, and I met you in a pizzeria." Now that is believable, not stating he met me in some expensive restaurant with John Gotti and sending me over expensive bottles of champagne. It's possible.
Okay, now, if Tommy Pitera knew the Bath Avenue crew, you know, besides Paulie Galino, then why did Fabrizio have to introduce himself in prison years later? If that's not proof enough, I don't know what is.
Calandra was sitting in that pizzeria next to Fabrizio when I sent them over a pizza, but I don't even remember the incident. Like Fabrizio said, "You don't remember me," and if Jimmy Calandra was there, I don't remember him. Sincerely, Tommy Pitera, and then it says, "P.S. My own rat, Frank Gangi, called John Aylett a fraud and said to stop using Italians to make money."
Johnny A. Liar, another YouTube rat exposed. Thank you, Tommy Pitera. Okay, so there you have it. All right. Signed, sealed, delivered once again. I don't know what it's going to take to make the lie stop, and I'll just keep exposing them. Like I said, it might be repetitive, but I'm just going to keep exposing them because Emmy thinks he can get away with it, and it's just not right to go on and lie. The story was good enough before to sit down. Have a great day. I'll talk to everyone later. Thank you.